Another George Zimmerman juror has done an interview. This is Juror B29. She did an interview with ABC News' Robin Roberts, and the interview is compelling. And this is the one non-white juror of the six women who were on the jury. And she had a lot of interesting things to say, including this about how she feels about the death of Trayvon Martin.
At the end of the day, he's going to have a lot of questions and answers he has to deal with. The law couldn't prove it. We just have to believe in the Lord that if he has to pay, he will pay.
She feels included in Trayvon Martin's death. Certainly not actually responsible, but really feeling that because the verdict was what it was, not guilty for George Zimmerman, she was somehow involved, or I don't want to use the term responsible, but that she feels very involved in the death of Trayvon Martin and what she feels to be presumably a lack of justice. Let's take a look at clip number 2 of Juror B29 in the Zimmerman case.
What was your first vote?
My first vote was second-degree murder.
How did you go from, in 9 hours, from feeling he was guilty of second-degree murder to not guilty?
In between that 9 hours, it was hard. A lot of us that wanted to find something bad, something that we could connect to the law, because for myself, he's guilty. Because the evidence shows he's guilty.
He's guilty of?
Killing Trayvon Martin. But as the law was read to me, if you have no proof that he killed them intentionally, you can't.
She was the one who first voted second-degree murder. We heard from juror, I believe it was B37, who said, well, initially, we had 3 people saying not guilty. We had 2 saying manslaughter. We had 1 saying second-degree murder. B29 says I was the one who said second-degree murder. And the problem I have with this is, unfortunately, I'm again concerned about the competency of many of these jurors, because she was asked, she said, I believe George Zimmerman was guilty of killing Trayvon Martin. Honestly, killing is not a crime. You can be guilty of murder, you can be guilty of manslaughter, but guilty of killing Trayvon Martin, I'm disturbed, Louis, that a juror who sat there for weeks said she believes that the guilt is for killing Trayvon Martin, when that is not a crime. I sympathize with this woman, and I think her heart is absolutely in the right place and all of that stuff, but I'm concerned by that. But how do you not realize that the killing is not a crime after sitting in the jury room for weeks?
Well, maybe that's what some of the other jurors had to convince her of. I don't know. It does seem kind of strange.
And then she is asked about whether she regrets not fighting more. Here's what she had to say.
Going on in your mind, your heart.
I was the juror that was going to give him the hung jury. Oh, I was. I fought to the end.
Do you have regrets that you didn't?
Kind of. I mean, I'm the only minority, and I felt like I let a lot of people down.
She said she could have been that hung jury. She could have been the juror who got to a point where the jury would have had no choice but to say, we're just unable to come to an agreement, a unanimous decision here, and asked if she regrets not continuing to fight. She says, I kind of do. I kind of do. Do you get the sense from watching this interview, Louis, that juror B29 was bullied, in a sense, into a not guilty verdict?
Hard to say. Who knows what she was thinking at the time. You've got a lot of time to reflect on it afterwards, I suppose, but we can't know for sure.
Also, I found it interesting that she said she had no idea what was going on in the media, that everyone was watching this. And I wonder if that is common to all 6 jurors, if they really didn't realize the amount of interest that there was about this around the world. I mean, people were riveted, news stations, for better or worse, and a lot of people saying there was a lot more important stuff to be talking about than the George Zimmerman jury deliberations. But were you surprised to hear her say that she had no idea what the worldwide, or in some sense national, obsession with this was?
It was everywhere. You couldn't avoid it. It was in every paper, on every media outlet.
Well, remember, I mean, they were sequestered, but still, given the lead up and the extensive pre-trial interviewing of potential jurors and all that, I was still a little surprised to hear her say she had no idea what it had blown up to be.
Yeah, it is surprising.
Interesting. So will we hear from more jurors? What are your thoughts on this juror? Do you feel that this juror did something wrong? Should she have stuck to what she thought was the correct verdict? Was she bullied, in your opinion? Watch the interview. Send me your thoughts. I'd be curious to see what you think. Book recommendation.